It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Hey everyone, it's Gary K. How are you doing, Steph?
I'm good. How are you doing, Gary?
I'm doing well.
Great.
Well, first off, we should tell people we had our holiday party.
We did.
How'd that go?
I think it was good. I know that you were like tired because you had been like traveling.
I had a headache. I had a headache that would not go away.
You like flew in and then like didn't you get to town like an hour before the party started?
A little bit before, but I just was not feeling well earlier in the day, and I started feeling like I was going to get sick. But then I didn't get sick, but I had this massive headache. I mean, I didn't end up getting sick. I just had I don't have migraines or anything like that, so I wasn't used to having a headache that wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
You know, other people around me were like, "It's okay, it's just a headache," but it was.
Yeah, but when you don't feel good, you don't feel good. But did you like your gift from your secret snow person?
Oh my gosh, it's right there.
Oh yeah. Oh,
right
I did see that you hung that up. Oh, it looks so
like
good.
I replaced. Look, Steph, that's a big deal. I replaced an image with that
you
thing
did.
right there. Yeah.
Oh, but Kelsey did such a good job.
Phenomenal.
For your gift.
I can't zoom in because I'm not using a camera that can zoom, I don't think.
So Kelsey made Gary a shadow box with different Star Wars Legos featured in it, and she built all the Legos and like installed them into the shadow box herself. She did a really good job.
I think I heard a story. I don't know if it's true. But first off, it was an amazing gift. You and Kelsey have both always given me great gifts when you've drawn my name. And I heard the story was that she just assumed they were just going to show up and she was going to stick them in the shadow box.
Yes.
I don't think she knew she had to build them.
That's correct. That is what happened. And also she like found something like that on Etsy, like already installed, already made, but it was like, I think like $150. And she was like, I can do that myself.
That breaks our, I think our gift exchange thing is like $25.
Yeah, it's like $25-$30. So so she was like, I can make that myself, no problem. And
the irony was, we got each other's names. How weird is that?
That's so funny.
I don't know if that's ever happened before, but was cool. We had to get.
Wait, I'm actually gonna tell you a secret. She actually traded someone to get your name.
Oh really?
Yeah,
that was really nice of her.
Because she
walked around and said, "Who's got Gary? I want to trade."
Well, I think Katie initially pulled your name, and Katie was like, "I do not know what to get Gary," and Kelsey goes, "I know what to get Gary. Give me his name."
Nice of her. Yeah, I've heard most people hate getting my name because they're afraid to get
No, you're easy peasy. You're just like it's no problem. I had Dalton, so I had our multimedia intern Dalton, and then Emily had me. Emily got me her favorite wine, which I'm excited to try.
Which wine did she give you? The Hall wine? Is that
the Craig's cab. Yeah. So that was really nice. That was a nice gift. So as always, it's always fun to play that game every year because it's always fun to like spend a lot of time like learning what someone likes to get them a good gift. Like that's always something that I like to do.
Yeah, I'm not as good about that. I wish I would like to say that I do, but I think I don't pay close attention to obvious cues sometimes.
I think I just think I'm a pretty observant person.
You are.
So like usually by the end of like secret snow person, like I know who everyone has usually because like a lot of people ask me advice. They're like, hey, this person, like what do they like? And I can normally name like 5 things anyone at the office like likes. So
yeah, you're good.
I don't know. We all have our superpowers. I think that one is just mine.
Oh, we got to have one cool thing about. Well, first off, this is rAVe TV, our weekly TV show, the industry's only live TV show. Comes on every Wednesday at noon Eastern time, which means that it is 6 p.m. in most of Europe. In the UK, it is 5 p.m. and on the West Coast, it is something like 9 a.m. But to them, time doesn't really matter in the morning. They don't get started until the afternoon. But we do have a guest on today who's going to come on who's in California, our very own Mark Coxon, I'm going to ask him how long he's been writing for us, but it's definitely been a decade or so.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been a while, but yeah, he's everyone, I think probably our favorite blogger. I mean, I think people like his stuff more than anybody else's. I certainly do. No offense, Steph.
That's fine.
I look at you as an editor. I look at you as an editor.
He is, yes. I am more of an editor. And it's always good to hear perspectives from someone who's been in the industry for longer than I have, because I know that I have my opinions on things.
Yeah.
I like our blog squad. I like everyone who writes for us, because they always like have different perspectives than I have, and that's like why I'm doing this job in the first place. So
yeah, and we come to you live on ravepubs.com. youtube.com/ravepubs, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and on Facebook every single week. So all the places. And at ISE, just as a reminder, we will be doing a live Rave TV from, I think, most of the days of the show. Certainly the first 3 days of the show, we'll do a live Rave TV. Kind of depends on the flow and timing and stuff. But we're going to do a lot of live stuff during the show. We'll be talking about that a little bit later, but our microsite is really set up. We have a whole new website for it and everything. It's all set up for doing a lot more live coverage, and we're excited about that. So we'll be talking to you more about that as we get closer to the show.
Yes, but first things first, we have a video from our sponsor and partner Shure about their KSM 11 mic. So we're going to show you that really quick.
Excellent.
When we're looking at vocal mics, we want the mic to produce the artist in a true form. And it was immediately obvious to us that the KSM 11 was doing that better than anything else.
When I compared it to the other very popular mic, the 11 had a much better high end to it. It was much smoother, much more natural.
I love it is because it makes my performance effortless.
The vocal is just more upfront somehow.
It's cutting right through. It just sounds so amazing.
The goal of the KSM 11 was to make the most transparent microphone capsule that we could. Field testing is a critical component of designing a product at Shure. And working with industry engineers, we were able to identify the smallest detailed decisions that had the greatest impact in design.
We were getting ready for a run of festivals. A festival is your best test, really, because it's outdoors, the elements and everything. She stepped out on stage and she still had clarity.
Benny was actually a totally different beast. He was a lot more comfortable, and the spill from the band was actually much lesser.
Those early KSM 11 prototypes sounded great. We could have actually shipped that product, but that's not how we do things at Shure.
Shure is a company that understands the bigger picture with their product and how they're designed not just for the user, but also the audience.
Rappers, MCs, they always cup the mic. That is the notorious problem with hip hop.
It's not very cool to hold a microphone like this, you know? So you need a microphone that sounds good when you hold it like this or when you hold it like this.
I actually talked to Shure and I said, boy, it'd be really nice if you guys had a mic that could do this. And so they sent me the capsule, the KSM 11, an early version of it. I sent back some notes. They sent me back another one and I was like, nailed it, you got it. It is consistent whether or not your artist cups the mic.
As a musical theatre vocal mic, where achieving vocal clarity is absolutely sound design 101. My first experiences of it is that it is a great step forward.
One of the other things to consider when you pick a vocal mic isn't just how it sounds in the room, but how it sounds in broadcast. And we were so impressed with how it came across on the streams, on the broadcast, and how it stood up to being listened to in that environment, as well as in a busy room.
I love designing new microphones. As you design a product over years, you learn exactly what customers need. And being able to finally deliver that need to our customers is the most exciting part.
The KSM 11 compared to other capsules, I think it's far superior.
Put it in your lineup because it's going to be a natural sounding mic.
We're using it on our leading man with absolutely no debate.
It's honest and it does exactly what you need it to do as an engineer.
I can just trust it. I can trust that capsule to get the job done.
We were talking about offline,
Yeah.
trying to remember mic model numbers and stuff like that, because I mean, you think about live events, they do destroy microphones, do they not?
Yes, and there's like a particular microphone that I remember like everyone in live events talking to me about and being like, this is the mic we use because you can like, run it over with a car and like nothing happens to it. And I just can't remember which mic it was. But anyway, any of you who work in live events, like put it in the comments maybe.
Drop it in the comments. Tell us.
Yeah, so that we can remember.
We want to know. But I know that Shure is one of our sponsors, and they're making a big play for the live
event market.
Yeah, and,
which is really interesting. I think of them more in like a UCC, like home office, like type brand, but like they really are just like an everywhere audio.
Well, they also have a microphone. They have a model SM. So, I mean, if I knew, I would, I don't know, 55, 50, 58, SM58, something like that. That has been around for like, like almost 60 years. Like the same
that might
microphone.
be it. That might be the microphone that everyone talks about. That's like, this is the one that you can just like.
Yeah, I mean, that thing's been around forever.
Yeah. That no matter, maybe that's it. Maybe that's why it's still kicking. But anyway, these are what Gary and I are using. These are MV7s, in case anyone was wondering. And Mark just got an MV7 I saw on Twitter the other day. So anyway, to the news. Gary, I know you saw the DSC change the dates for the 2023 show. They pushed them back. It was initially going to be November 13th to like 14th with 2023. So keeping it's like right before Thanksgiving November dates, but it's pushed back now to December 4th and 5th for the expo. So they apparently changed the dates so that the show no longer interferes with the Formula One event that's kind of taking place at around the same time in November. There were some worries about like hotel availability and like prices if like two like big conferences were happening at the same time. So this is just going to kind of like help, like there's no really other big conference in our industry or like adjacent to our industry happening, or in any industry, I don't think, happening in Las Vegas like in December. So I think that that's going to just kind of,
they'll have no competition, literally. And
exactly,
being a week after Thanksgiving, you clear it by a week. They'll be fine. I think it's a good move. I mean, as a show company, you want to be around a time where no other shows are, and that's the place there are no other shows. And it's the time where people are still working in December. Even this week we're still working.
And like, how everyone says like, oh, like hotels in Vegas are so cheap because they want you to gamble.
Yeah, when is that? I would like to know, because that does not happen whenever I'm
anymore. I think that was true in like the 80s or the 90s or something, but that's definitely not true
where Mark lives. Here's what happens. When Vegas has nothing going on, they like email everybody in Orange County to say for $150, you can get a round trip and 2 nights at the Bellagio, but you have to accept the offer in the next 4 hours. Like, it's like that kind of thing. That's what ends up happening. So
they don't email us.
I do want to ask. I can't wait for Mark to come on. I have so many questions for him. So many.
Great.
Questions, so many questions.
Okay. Continuing on, ISC also announced the conference program for the 2023 show. So basically that is the entire lineup of all the conferences that you can expect in like the education and all of that. So you can read that entire story on rAVePubs.com.
Different conferences going on at the same time.
So many. So there's a smart building conference, there's a smart home technology conference, the digital signage summit, control room summit, education technology summit, smart workplace summit, live events summit, content production and distribution summit. There are Tech Talks Espanol, Cedia, Smart Home Stage, and I think that is it. So if any of that interests you and you want to know more about any of those conferences, you can check out the full story at rAVePubs.com, or just scan that QR code and it will take you to the list of all of the stories that we talk about on the show today.
And we do have a special code for you for those people that might be going to Barcelona. No matter where you're watching, whether you're here or there, you can use our special code for the show, which is January 31st through February 3rd. Yes. And that's the code is rAVe Europe. So just scan that QR code and that'll take you to the code, and use the code rAVe Europe, and that code will get you a free pass.
Exactly. So before we bring Mark on, we're going to show a quick video from our sponsor and partner, Legrand AV. We are very grateful to them. And Chief, its brand, as you know, Legrand has a lot of brands. They're very much a glue company in our industry, as Gary says. They introduced a new outdoor kiosk to the Impact product family. So check out this video to learn more.
All right. So I'm excited that we have Mark Coxon on with us. First off, nice hat.
Hey, representing Launch Code.
For those of you that don't know, we actually have you know about launch. I'm sure everyone knows about Launch, LAVNCH, .com. But if you go to launch.com, you'll see at the very top left, you'll see a little slider there. You can go to Launch Code, which is a publication that just focuses on XR, VR, AR, and all the emerging technologies, Mark. And obviously, your team over at AVI SPL, what are they known as again? Because y'all are focused on all these experiential kind of things, right?
Yeah, we're XTG, Experience Technology Group.
There you go, XTG within AVI SPL.
Because we needed another acronym,
Gonna make another one. Reason why we asked you here is we wanted you to talk about your flexibility versus performance trade-off column, which you can go read right now at ravepubs.com. We're dropping the link in all the places, but you can scan that QR code if you want to go read it. But I want you to talk about that and sort of what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on modern office and future of work. And so I've been talking to a lot of people, and it's funny because the starting strategy that I've seen for a lot of people is to build these kind of t-shirt size rooms. We have small rooms, medium rooms, large rooms, and all of the rooms just have kind of a scaled up or scaled down version of the same technology. And like, we're building flexible spaces. They can be anything to anybody. And really my impetus for that blog was when a space is anything to anybody, it's not really anything to anybody, right? So like they're not inspiring, they're not conducive to creating certain modes of thought or to creating certain outcomes. And so I was just challenging companies to really think about what are you actually trying to accomplish when people get together in your spaces, and maybe instead of building 4 spaces that are flexible, you build 3 spaces that are very purpose driven and maybe have 1 flexible space. And the other thing that we noticed a lot, and if you even think back before the pandemic with like divisible conference rooms and all of these things, the truth about those spaces was they're very rarely reconfigured. You walk in 5 minutes before the meeting, unless you have an AV team going in there like a SWAT team ahead of you and configuring the room the way you want it, you're going to walk in and use it however it was left by the last people, because you're not going to spend time resetting that room up. And so a lot of times this flexibility is planned for and never actually used, and it's done at the detriment of the company building maybe a more purpose-driven space that's built for the outcome that they're trying to get. So that was what I was trying to get at, because I hear a lot of people talking about flexibility and small, medium, large. I'm like, that's for t-shirts, small, medium, large.
Well, it's interesting. You basically answered all the questions we had for you about the article, about the blog. You can go online and read at ravepubs.com. But we at UNC, we actually are our new building built flexible classrooms. Each classroom can either be a small 25-person classroom or a 54-person when it's opened up classroom. And I do go and reconfigure it when I go in there. Everything is on wheels. Obviously the chairs are, but all the tables are. And I do, before my class, no matter how that class was left, I do reconfigure it. So I do find myself using it. And maybe that's because I'm anal retentive. I don't know. I mean, or maybe it's because I'm in the industry and I feel comfortable doing it. But I think what you're saying is that, normal presenters, they don't want to have to go back and do anything other than connect up their laptop. Is that what you're basically saying?
Well, I would think.
Is it only because it's made for 2 uses and not like a million? Did I hit the right?
But even if it's a small class, I still use the large space because I like the flexibility of them being able to collaborate that way. But I get it.
I think that's what I'm getting at, is that's still an education-based space, right? The outcome of that is for students to learn and to maybe facilitate 2 or 3 different types of learning in that space. But the outcome is still a learning-based outcome. So the space is really built for learning, although you can use it in a couple different modes. I think what I'm seeing a lot is, you may take a room and you put a conference table in it, and now that's supposed to be a collaboration space 1 minute, and that's supposed to be a financial review space another.
Right.
And there are different modes of thinking that require those 2 outcomes, right? And so maybe that space shouldn't be used for both of those things without being changed at all. So I think I think you nailed it, Steph. I think there's although it's flexible within a paradigm of teaching, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you run into like you want the space to be able to do like 8 different things, that you're like running into like the issues of having to make them like really generic, right? Because like you said, who's going to want to like move this 18 different ways? Like people aren't going to do that. in actuality. So like, what do you think, like what would you normally suggest then? Like if a client came up to you and was like, here's my tiny room and I want this to be able to do 16 different things. Here are all the different meetings that need to be able to happen in this space. Like, what would you suggest then?
Well, if it's their only room, then sometimes you can't get around it. But usually what you'll ask is like, how many of these rooms do you have? Oh, we have 12 of these tiny rooms throughout the campus. Okay, let's rethink that strategy. Instead of building 12 of these tiny rooms that are exactly the same, let's think about the 3 or 4 things you're doing in these spaces and create one space adjacent to this neighborhood in the office, one space adjacent to this neighborhood that is really purpose-driven for that outcome, right? Because especially if we're asking people to come back, our space needs to be inspiring. I mean, inspire that means breathe life into. That's what inspire means. So these spaces should really like tilt people into their collaboration, into their team building, into making decisions, into R&D or innovation. Like the spaces should inform that. If I come into a white space with 4 chairs and a table pushed up the wall, what are the chances I'm being innovative as opposed to me coming into a space that maybe has some Tinker Toys and Legos and some quotes of innovators or inventors that have invented the last, the century changing, innovations that changed our world in the last 100 years with quotes and pictures of people around. Those type environments really start to tilt people into like what they're trying to do, as opposed to white walls, cold desk, white melamine tabletop, and a 55-inch display. Right. So that's just where I start to think about it. And it's really more of a human-centered conversation. Who are your people? How do they think? And what are they trying to do? And then we go from there. So
speaking of humans, I know that you gotta go, but do you know any of the housewives from Orange County? Because I've been watching that whole show. And do you know any of their kids? Do you know any of their houses?
So my daughter went to school with one of their kids that we had a run-in with. And I have no problem saying that when we went to the school, we tried to go to the parent first about the problem.
Yeah.
And the parent was one of the housewives. And she said, well, say hi to the administration for me because we give them tons of money every year, and good luck with talking to them about, problems with us. To which we did go to the school and we got a response that said, we take all of these problems seriously, no matter who their parents are or think they are, which was a very nice response.
And did they?
Good. They handled it.
They handled it very well.
Okay, good.
And they squashed that sense of entitlement right away. So we do run into some of these people here and there. My wife used to go to a gym that's owned by another one of the housewives.
I know that one.
Run by her husband. It's right around the corner here from us. So she's been there sometimes too.
So
I've never seen an episode of that in my life.
Sorry, Steph, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just saying I've never seen an episode of that in my life.
Well, last question for you is your daughter still a burgeoning chef?
So she's into community college now, so she can end up going to culinary school. But the high school she went to pretty much takes you through the full Culinary Institute America book. So she makes all sorts of sauces and dinners. If you see one of my Twitter posts a couple weeks ago, it was just a bunch of mason jars with different sauces and concoctions and things. So she's always doing that. She did Thanksgiving the last few years for us. She takes that work off of our plate. So it's amazing living with a burgeoning chef as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of benefits in the house, for sure.
Well, congratulations. And thanks for joining us. Have a great holiday. We will have you back on in the new year, and you'll be at ISE with us. So we'll have you do some stuff for us. And so thanks for joining us. We do need to play another message from our sponsor, rAVe. And actually, I guess we're going to just talk about.
Yeah, I think we're just talking about it. So rAVe wanted us to make sure to tell you guys to check out its MD330U and MD330UI. So these are cameras that they've really made them to be for telemedicine, patient monitoring, close-up examinations, really, and like the health side of our industry, which is very much a growing part of the industry. And it has 30 times zoom, 4K resolution, a detachable camera. This is the camera I think that you and I have gotten to like play around with, where like the camera detaches so you can like get it close up and like put it back on. It also has a speakerphone and an LED or IR camera. So it's very, very cool. Go ahead and scan the QR code and it'll take you right to the product page so you can read up a little bit more about the specs and all of the uses. When we were talking with Abra, they've talked about how many like hospitals they've been able to put these in. And I think that's very, very cool and something that is going to continue being very popular in our industry. I won't be surprised if eventually we have like a healthcare centered newsletter and that becomes like a really big part of our industry.
I think it is definitely growing. Speaking of growing, Exertis Almo purchased one of their partners actually this past week, announced this week that they purchased Quadrillion. And that story is on our website. You can scan the QR code. We actually have a short video clip. I think it's a short video clip that we have of an interview I did with Sam Taylor.
Exactly.
It's part of my Rants and Raves video cast, him talking about why they purchased Quadrillion. So let's play that quick interview. Why don't you make the announcement here on rAVe?
Yeah, so we're happy to announce that we have acquired and Quadrillion, a company that does engineering, design, and drafting and programming for us, is joining forces with us and becoming part of Exertis Almo.
So, I mean, I'll put a link in the description of the video cast so you can go to their website, but it's quadrillion.com, CADDRILLION.com. And obviously for those people that know Quadrillion, and obviously they've already been doing work for you, but they're a design company that is a systems designer that kind of can design any kind of system. So a salesperson can engage with them to design a project or design an entire facility. They do obviously systems with every product in our industry. But I know they've been working with you for a while, but why the acquisition? Why not just continue to work with them? What's the difference in the way, what will be the difference in acquiring them?
Well, first of all, they met Justin Gregory a couple of years ago. Really nice guy. He's the CEO and the founder of Quadrillion. And over the course of we started working with them 3 or 4 years ago, and they just grew so quickly to become our most trusted and reliable and best third-party services company that we were working with. And so consequently, our sales with them grew to a point where we are about 40% of their overall business. And it was like, hey, it's time to make this official and have them join us. We really they have such great people, such experienced programmers, such experienced engineers, that we wanted to be part of our team. We want to help actually scale that business, help Justin scale that business. He's coming over and he's going to still be running that portion of the business. He's a great guy, really experienced. And so we're really excited about this.
All right. So continuing on with the news, that is very big news for Exertis Almo, by the way.
I mean, it's good that they're getting more into the service. They're setting the example, getting more into services. I mean, that's the future of our industry. So
you are absolutely right. Everything and anything as a service. I totally believe you. And another big news thing that's happened in the past week, ClearOne and Shure have reached a global settlement for the legal disputes that they have been going through since I think I started full time, pre-COVID. I think it was 2019 maybe when all of these started. So the global settlement, maybe a little before. It might have been even 2018. I need to double check that. But this is all pending legal disputes. So it is over. So I think that both companies were just kind of over the expense.
Well, I think ClearOne had new ownership or new management, and I think they're this is not worth it. And I think they're done with it.
So the companies are filing dismissals with prejudice in all pending cases. And they have both of them have released each other from all claims to cross-license all patent rights involved. So, it's all's well that ends well in the AV industry. So I remember us for a while, it was very dramatic. So I think that it's good that we're just
it's nice the drama is gone.
Yeah, we're moving on from that. Drama-free AV. Isn't that what we used to say every time we get a news story about this?
Exactly.
So yeah, hashtag drama-free AV. Anyways, Extron released the MediaPort 300. It is now available. You can scan the QR code to tell you all about the specs and how to get your hands on it. We have a link to the product page at the bottom of that story. Just expanding the MediaPort line, kind of integrating.
This is a great example of what to use a MediaPort for. So, for example, if our producer in the background wanted to connect the computer into this broadcast, right, without having to have the computer join separately,
that's right,
or a document camera or camera in the room or any other USB device, right, or HDMI device for that matter, you can use the MediaPort for that. So it's perfect for. And same thing with a classroom, a meeting room, live event or anything like that. So check it out. MediaPort 300 is shipping. And, obviously Extron has a little bit of everything. We have two events happening between now and the end of the year. One is tomorrow, which is our wage gap and the Pro AV session that we're doing in cooperation with Avixa to talk about sort of the disparities between not just men and women in the industry in the wage gap, but also different minorities in the industry and the difference in the way that they're paid. They did a comprehensive study on this, and I hope that when Megan brings them on, she asks the tougher questions about some of the stuff that's missing from the report, because the report is good, but it doesn't include everything and also doesn't provide a solution necessarily.
No, but I think that it's not always about figuring out the solution, because I think we are very quick to be like, oh, what can we do? What can we do? Well, I think first of all, we need to recognize there's a problem and recognize where the holes are before we try to fill them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just raising the issue is the key. And then next week, we're partnering with NSCA to bring a labor installation standards and use session on launch. Both those you can sign up for on ravepubs.com or on launch.com, lavnch.com, or scan that QR code. That session is all about the report they produced on how tough it is getting to finding people to actually do installs, and how there's also some issues with regard to jobs that were spec'd a year and a half ago and the price of the product or the availability has changed, and how to handle that. So they got some great advice there, which is exactly what NSCA does. If you want to check them out, go to nsca.org. They are an association that just focuses on helping integrators in the industry, low voltage integrators in the industry, solve some of their sort of daily business problems. So Steph, we will have one more show for before the end of the year, right? Next Wednesday.
Yes, that's going to be our last show.
We are going to take the week of Christmas to New Year's off.
Yes,
the whole company.
We do that as a company every year, which is something I very much am grateful for about this company, because at the end of the day, it's not a very busy week anyway. So it's nice to get the extra time to spend with our families.
So we will take that week off, but we will be back next Wednesday. Maybe we'll do some fun things on Wednesday. But either way, you can always check out all of our past episodes at ravepubs.com and just click on the TV link. Exactly. And we'll start debuting some of our ISE plans as we get closer to the show. But in the meantime, we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary.